here tonight to basically give a general overview of the status of our buildings. What Facilities and Ground has done since the initial pandemic, when it initially hit, has been a variety of things. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of it. The first thing we did, we started off with training. Okay, so our training started as far back as November 2019. We brought in Miss Julia Wells from the New Jersey Department of Health, Communicable Disease Service. She comes in every year during this period of time, and she talks to my head custodians about best practices in terms of dealing with the winter season, new trends in terms of communicable diseases that have been, what are the trends? What is on the horizon? So we've been doing that for the past 4 years. So in November 2019, she began to speak about COVID because Ms. Wells had an extreme concern about it hitting the U.S. and what the impact could be. So we were well aware of what was coming at that period. What happened is, unfortunately, during March, where it officially, quote unquote, officially hit the U.S., obviously it hit Plainfield very harshly. So what we then did was we did another training. We did training in April of 2020, as well as May of 2020. That was through NATE. NATE is one of the top environmental health and safety training centers in the state of New Jersey. So the entire staff of Buildings and Grounds was trained in a protocol for safety, cleaning, and maintenance of COVID-19. What then happened over the summer, August, September was, again, we did additional training with ATRA Janitorial, which provide us custodial supplies. During that period, we talked about cleaning and disinfection, focusing on dwell times as it applies to when cleaning bathrooms, the importance of utilizing dwell time when using chemicals. We also talked about the proper way of cleaning bathrooms. It was important to make sure that it was a level of retraining for everyone. Everyone, sometimes employees think that they know best practices and they get into shortcuts, but I wanted to make sure that overall as a department, we understood the seriousness of what we were dealing with because it was truly a life or death situation. So they received that training in August. What's about to happen in the next 2 weeks, since we're going to have some downtime where staff isn't in district, there'll be a retraining because I want to keep reiterating the points of the importance of cleaning bathrooms, the proper ways of cleaning bathrooms, not coming in and just hitting it and keeping it moving. The importance of disinfection, the importance of dwell times, the importance of attention to detail. So that's one part. So that's what's been going on in terms of the education of the department. Everyone, every single employee, from the secretary to the supervisor to maintenance to grounds, everyone is required to have that training so that we're all on the same page. In terms of equipment, we have purchased quite a bit of equipment. Every school has at least 2 backpack sprayers, as well as at least, depending on the size of the campus, enough for each employee. Custodial member have a protective sanitation gun, which they are.
Did he freeze on us?
I lost sound. Yeah,
I
I did too.
Okay, he froze on us.
Yeah, I think he froze.
He froze. Yeah, I think so. His eyes are not blinking.
Oh, there we go.
There he is.
Okay, okay. So what
Yes.
should happen is
I think we missed your last sentence. There was a short freeze period. Can you go back like a sentence or two?
okay, so I just wanted to give you a snapshot. From a custodial point of view, what should happen is nightly. They come in, they clean the classroom. At the end of the cleaning the classrooms, all the garbage is out of the building. What then happens is they are to get their protective sanitation done. And what happens is they come into the classroom. They start from the left side of the classroom or the right side of the classroom. So they start from the back side of the classroom. They utilize their gun. They're going to use a BioS disinfectant, which is a EPA CDC approved chemical. It is a low impact, so there's no harshness to humans or animals or anything like that. That's it. That's in compliance with the New Jersey Green Seal standard for schools. So they come in, they spray down the entire classroom. They go from the back of the classroom to the front of the classroom. They clean from left to right or right to left. Then they get to the middle of the classroom and they're spraying out the door. The reason they're doing that is because they're properly saturating the entire area, disinfecting area. The BioS chemical has a 4-minute kill time. It is a drip dry method, meaning that all surfaces are fully covered, and it takes 4 minutes for the surface to dry. So that's one aspect of it. Another thing that we've done is the COVID-19 attacks in a variety of means. We've all read different things about how it attacks us, or how it attacks the general public, I should say, in that regard. So, for example, what the district has been great about is purchasing ionizers to put on our rooftop units. We've partnered with Johnstone Supply to put these on all of our schools. All of our schools that have rooftop units. For those schools that do not have rooftop units, we're putting them in their univents. So you go, what's the big deal about that? It's been proven that COVID can transmit by airborne. So if we're putting them in the rooftop units, any of this fresh, free-flowing air that is coming outside that may be diluted, it is then clean as it goes through the rooftop unit, and then it goes into the building envelope of the building, which goes into the atmosphere. So you're getting free, clean air coming into the building that has been purified by the ionizer. This is a CDC EPA approved method. Our maintenance staff has been working with Johnstone to install that. From another regard, I've already talked to you about the ProTexas system, which is a gun system, a disinfecting gun system. And then in some regards, some of you may have seen backpacks where they're spraying down. They're spraying and disinfecting lunchroom tables, or they're spraying down locker rooms regularly, or playground surfaces, or pre-K, like for example at the high school before the shutdown happened, it would be spraying down in between periods and at the end of the night and on a Friday afternoon over in preparation for Monday. So additional thing is we're one of the few school districts that have for the past 4 years have been using a disinfectant seal. So you say, what's the big deal about using a disinfectant seal? It's an antimicrobial seal that instead of just making the floor looks nice and shiny and things of that nature, it prevents the transmission of diseases by way of shoes. Okay, so we've been doing that for a good 4 years prior, well before the transmission of COVID. So all staff it has been advised and directed that when we do our routine floor care system, that we are to utilize the OmniGuard that has been supplied by ATRA. What else can I think of in terms of that regard? Due to the CARES Act, we've been able to purchase even more equipment in terms of being able to cover more ground to disinfect areas at a quicker rate, covering the, shortening the time of cleaning and disinfecting, scrubbers and buffers and things of that nature that are man-made propelled. Additionally, restroom alert. We will begin restroom alert training as of tomorrow. Restroom alert is a way to alleviate the fears of our staff as well as for the taxpayers. So you say, what is restroom alert? Restroom alert is a...
Did he freeze again?
Sutton, you took a pause for the cause?
He went to the restroom. There.
We got to get Mr. Sutton one of them T-Mobile hotspots, because clearly where he's at is not.
There he goes. He's back.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Right.
So how it plays out is if you see that a bathroom needs attention, you'll be able to simply whip out your phone, put in a code, and this code, you will be able to text this code, and then you will be able to put your comments, and you will say bathroom needs attention, BT 201 Plainfield High School. Instantaneously, staff will be notified by their cell phones and walkie-talkies, as well as myself and my assistant, as well as my secretarial staff here. Immediately, staff will be dispatched, and if no one responds within 10 minutes, it immediately responds. It immediately sends a message to the head custodian, the custodian fireman, and his staff that this bathroom has not received the attention that it's supposed to. Our goal in Facility and Ground is to respond as quickly, as promptly as possible, providing the best customer service and the best presentation to the taxpayer, as well as to the staff, as well as the children of our district. So I'm very excited about that. In terms of what are we doing in terms of communicating the concerns of giving updates to the taxpayer or staff, if you will. We are finishing up our first PSA that's ever been done for Facilities and Grounds. And we're extremely excited about that. The PSA will give a very detailed overview of buildings and grounds as it applies to a presentation to what are we doing in terms of as it applies to COVID. So we'll be talking about obviously the ionizers, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the signage that you see throughout our campuses, the floor markers that reminds you to maintain your 6 feet, the beautiful banners that when you walk up to our campuses to remind you to stay healthy and to practice good health practices. It's just a variety of things that we're going to talk about. In terms of duct cleaning has been a hot topic. Over the past 4 years, since I had the great opportunity to help lead in terms of within the Facilities and Grounds Department, we have been very steadily working on doing duct cleaning. CDC and EPA, as well as state IAQ standards and federal IAQ standards, generally recommend that duct cleaning should happen every 5 years. So so far we've been able to do duct cleaning over the past 4 years for at least 75% of our schools. I'm very confident, and we have very much planned that over the next 6 months to finish the last 6 schools to have the duct work clean. The duct work is cleaned by an outside contractor, NDUP, who is state certified and is part of the state co-op. So we get optimum pricing in terms of those type of projects. In terms of, so let's go back a little bit. So in terms of say you're a teacher and you have you in your building. The proper way to address that concern is, one, if it's during the daytime before 1 or 2 o'clock, prior to the second man coming on site, generally they should reach out to their head custodian. Their head custodian then would create a work order, and then within 24 hours, generally within 24 hours, I'm going to say 90 to 95% of the time, the work order is disseminated, and then our maintenance staff then takes care of it. If there's something, if it's identified that it's a much more detailed situation, we will outsource it. But generally, the goal is, and what we have been able to do in the past 4 years, keep it in-house and be able to take care of the work order. So that's generally a way a work order is taken care of. If for some bizarre reason that's not being, if your concern wasn't immediately taken care of, then usually a teacher or whomever would talk to a principal. But 9 times out of 10, my phone number is 732-522-0126. My phone is on 24 hours. So a great deal of our district has my phone number. So teachers, whomever, call.
And for the record, you just added about 240 other individuals that is going to text you and call you.
You know what? And I understand. But that's the thing we have. That's the need. And, you know, and I rarely share that with you. I'm very passionate about my job.
Because you can only see us, but there's another 240 some people that can see you. Mr. Campbell, you had a question.
Yes, to Mr. Sutton. You talk about the process for sanitizing and keeping the ducts clean and maintained. But since we have a very old infrastructure, even though they're in
I'm back.
Not all of your buildings have ducts, correct?
Sure. So it's still, I'm sorry, because it's like it's constantly freezing up. So in terms of the Univent systems, I know that let me go back a little bit. So to answer your question, Mr. Campbell, yes, some buildings have Univent systems. The others do not. It all depends on
Would you explain what a Univent system is? So
a Univent system provides free flowing clean air that goes through a filter system. Okay, so here's the thing about it. Traditionally, your older schools have been designed by that. So yes, we have about I would say that 40% of our schools still have an elaborate Univent system that's still intact. But as they're building them, you very rarely see like a old school traditional Univent system.
And those vents are duct to the outside, like similar to an air conditioner.
Similar to it somewhat, yes. But in terms of, if you don't mind, let me speak about the filters. One of the things that's been very prominent in the news is that the CDC or EPA or a combination have said that they recommend MERV 13 filters or higher when possible. So they recommend. They do not make that a requirement. So let me explain. After speaking with engineers as well as industrial hygienists, as well as the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Services, the recommendation is that if you have older systems like we do, which are traditionally a large part of our district is 75 years to 105 years old, you have to follow the manufacturer's recommendation. The reason you follow the manufacturer's recommendation is if I have a Univent system that can only take a MERV 10 and I put a MERV 13 or higher, you're potentially, one, you will definitely reduce the efficiency of the system, and two, you are potentially causing a hazard because you're making the system work harder, and it can either short circuit or become flammable at some point due to the system overworking. So in terms of that, some of our older schools, a conversation that, obviously not tonight, but a bigger conversation that must happen by way of ESIP or voting on it down the road, we have to have a conversation about our older schools and the fact that our infrastructure needs to be upgraded. So that's a conversation for another time, but that's something that we need to keep on the back of our mind. Again, our heating systems are very archaic, but we do a great job in terms of maintaining them. So how often does a univent be cleaned? A univent is clean and the filters are changed orderly. The head custodian's requirements is to maintain a log, which is reviewed by myself, Mr. Piñas, as well as the HVAC team, in terms of the cleanliness of it and how often the filters are changed. If I'm not mistaken, some of our board members had the pleasure of doing a walkthrough, and some of them actually opened up univent systems, and they were able to see one where they to have they been serviced, and all univents are required within the Plainfield Board of Ed to be tagged. So you just can't. It has to be tagged, and every time it's serviced. Why do we tag it? One is just to be in compliance with IAQ standards. But two, that is a way of us keeping a detailed record of how often it's cleaned, how often it's maintained, and for record purposes for outside agencies if they happen to come in as well. That's just a general idea how various things work. So so in one part, I know a lot of. Here's the other thing. Another thing that we do is, for example, when we say, like, if we unfortunately have a COVID outbreak or in a school that potentially might have more than one area, what's happened is staff has been trained in disinfection. So what we do is clean and disinfect the areas, and but not just those areas. Staff can attest, as well as upper administration can attest. One of the things that I've charged my team to do is, it's not just a classroom.
Man, we IT administrator, facilitator, y'all got to get with Mr. Sutton, man. His connectivity is a little suspect right now.
You don't know where Mr. Sutton is.
Mental consultant.
Run blocks.
The air. We're saving energy, excuse me. So what then happens is, COVID, we do a COVID-19 test, which is a swab test. It is done in all the areas that have been identified as potentially compromised or that there's an incident. But I don't do it just of the classroom. I do it 7 to 10 sources throughout the building. So it could be a classroom, then I'll do a teacher's lounge, I do a teacher's bathroom.
Can we move to the question and answer portion of this? Because Mr. Sutton's connectivity is a little suspect.
And Mr. Outlook could pinch it for Mr. Sutton.
So we do all those things to attempt to make the staff as well as the general public comfortable, to show that not only are we are cleaning and we are disinfecting, and here's our backup to say that the process that's in place works. Scientific data works. It's proof of that. So we do that on a regular basis. That's it.
Mr. Sutton,
Last question, the quality, air quality.
I'm sorry. So let me say this as well. In terms of the air quality, that's not something that we just started doing because of COVID. We've been doing that for years. So any schools that have been identified as having concerns in the past, I have regularly met with Amy Brown of PEA, who was in charge of health and safety, and past and present presidents. And whenever they said that they had a concern with air quality in the building, things of that nature, never had a problem with doing those tests. But what we did this year, because we were being proactive instead of reactive, we're in a proactive environment at Facilities and Grounds. What we did was we did a POSHA standard indoor air quality test in September, which we passed. Okay? There were some minor things that they recommended to us, it was just a level of retraining, but we passed it. We were in total compliance. What I've recently done in the past 10 business days, what I wanted to do was upon staff returning, as well as students returning, I wanted to do a retesting while children were on campus as well. We're finishing up that part of it. And I actually had a conversation with Carl Environmental today, and I'm figuring within the next 7 business days or so, I'll have that report. So I have one right during the period of September when teachers were returning. Then I'll have a second one with teachers and students as well. But that is not a practice that we just started doing. The things that I'm talking about have been being done over the past 4 years. This is something well before COVID-19. These are conversations that we've had at Buildings and Grounds meetings or whatever the case may be. But we have always been very, very, very proactive about indoor air quality, about looking at different ways of financing, improving our infrastructure as it applies to improving the univent systems. One of the things that I would have to tip my hat to is upper administration, in particular to Mr. Ottman and the Facilities and Grounds Committee, is that they let me lead the charge, and they've worked with me in terms of making sure that we find financing options. We've had meetings with the Union County Improvement Authority. And all of this was with the design to improve our infrastructure, but focusing on improving the indoor air quality. That's something that's very simple, very, very serious. So we don't want Evergreen School during May and June to get so hot that they have to close down. We want it where my dream and my goal, and it will happen, is that we will have univents that heat and cool in all of our schools. And we meet every third Wednesday to work towards that goal. And we're very close. But we're not just doing that. We're doing a variety of things. Fulfilling POS needs in terms of working on getting the proper financing so that they can have an addition, so that they can have a gym like they're supposed to have, and things of that nature. Or, I know it's a hot topic, but, turf at Hubstein Field. And we're also working on keeping our VOTEC students in-house. We have full designs completed already. We're going after the money to address these things. Okay? So everything, Facilities and Grounds is deeply committed towards the success of children. It has been scientifically proven that if a child is in a clean environment, it translates to success. Scientifically proven.
I agree. Great.
Any other board members have any questions of Mrs. Sutton, Ms. Anderson person? You're muted.
I'm doing one of those. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sutton, for your information and your presentation. Just a couple of follow-ups. First of all, everything that you said tonight, is that in writing somewhere? Is that something where that can be in writing, everything that you've just verbalized to the board? Is he frozen? I think he's frozen. He's frozen.
Did he present this at the last Facilities and Grounds Committee? Is this the same presentation?
I'm sorry, it was freezing up yet again.
No, I was asking the question if you, the presentation you just provided to us with this detail, do you have that in writing?
Sure. I have it. I can put something together, but I do have it in writing. Okay. So one of the things that, and one of the things is, buildings and grounds is in any environment is what I always call the person behind the curtain. So a lot of people, while we make sure that operations are run on a daily basis, we're not at the forefront. So I think I totally agree at this time that we need to, one, put a face on a department to a degree, and to communicate exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it. One, by information free flowing, as you're saying, by putting it on the on the district site, as well as on the PSA, as well as I've been in constant communication with Ms. Montalegre. So once that PSA will hit, probably within 2 weeks, once we get the okay from upper administration, then we can do so.
Okay, so yeah, because that really is it. Prior to COVID, most people really didn't have that much of an interest in the inner workings of every single school building, but that has all changed. I'm hearing from parents and staff that want to know if they're in a building. I want to know what the heating system, exactly what the heating system is in Evergreen. I want to know exactly what the heating system, the ventilation system is in Cedarbrook in detail. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, and I think we had asked Mr. Ottman and the superintendent for this, so if I'm being redundant, please forgive me. Wanting to know with the CARES Act exactly what the Facilities and Grounds actually purchased. You alluded to scrubbers and buffers, and I just wanted to see like what exactly was purchased.
It's a litany of things. So one thing is, I'm sorry.
So you did send me that question, and I told you I would give that to you.
That's right. You did say that. Thank you. Okay, so we'll get that. So my next question, you mentioned the ductwork, and you said that it was cleaned, they're cleaned every 5 years. Now, was that pre-COVID that the ductworks are cleaned every 5 years? And if so, what is the new time frame for cleaning the ducts? Has there been any change with the frequency of how those ducts are cleaned?
No, not at all. So what I established going back, I would say 4 or 5 years ago, once I had the opportunity, was we started tackling it. So obviously we started with the biggest campus first, being Plainfield High School. So we did the old and new building, as well as all the other auxiliary buildings that are on this campus. So each year I would try to do at least 2 or 3. So each year we've been doing more. So since we've been able to get some of this CARES money, we focused on schools that had building designs where windows didn't open. So there were a couple that we were able to do over the past 6 months, I would say. But we're not done. What we're going to do over the next 4 to 5 months is we're going to knock out the rest of the school district. So what we're going to be able to say is that at least 7 to 8 of the schools have been done within the past 12 to 14 months, and the others have been done over the past 3 years.
Okay, so just to get a handle with the number of buildings in the district, how many remain to clean?
6.
6. All right,
yes.
So is it your plan, along with the superintendent and Mr. Ottman, to get those 6 remaining buildings clean before students? And because here's what's happening. We're proposing that teachers are coming in on alternate schedules. So they're home virtually, but they're still coming into the buildings on certain times. There's a concern about the air quality. It's winter time, everything's closed in. I just listened to you talk about all of your cleaning methods, but I would venture to say that some people would be thinking, well, why wouldn't you increase the frequency of duct cleaning from a 5-year window to a more frequent, going over these buildings more frequently than 5 years? It just seems like a really long time during COVID. If this was not COVID, what you're saying sounds reasonable. But in terms of just making people have that security that the air that they're breathing is safe, has there been any conversation with respect to that?
Well, in terms of, to answer your question, I do not arbitrarily make these decisions alone. I have teammates, and when I say teammates, I have Carla Environmental that have industrial hygienists and.
Lost them. Froze again. We need to have some
Can you give him a hotspot? Really?
Yeah.
No, we can't.
What about if he turns off his video?
That's best
practice.
That's a
I
good.
might have turned off the video.
Hold on. Yeah, quick second. Clearly, your connectivity, Mr. Sutton, is a little difficult at this time. So turn off your video so you have to stream less data. That might help with your connectivity, so that way we can at least hear you. All right.
Okay, we're good.
And so you were saying you had a team.
So there's a team. District. I'm sorry. So the district buildings and grounds have a district consultants that we work with regularly, as well as the district architect, Land Associates. So we utilize all those services, the industrial hygienists, mechanical engineers, you name it, we use it. Forensic architects, you name it. We have all sorts of options and choices that we utilize. So to answer your question, what we're doing is right and exact. The frequency of cleaning, yes, we can potentially clean the ducts more frequently, but what we're doing is sufficient. Why I say it's proficient and acceptable and within standard is that based off of the indoor air quality testing that we're doing, is clearly showing that all of our rooftop units and all of our units are working properly. And when they're doing an air quality test, it's not just for COVID, it's for allergens, it's for all sorts of viruses and bacteria. And what is clearly showing is that the systems are working to the best of their ability within the state and federal requirements of IAQ standards. And we're passing them.
Okay, so Mr. Sutton, with these district consultants, you're using the industrial hygienist and the architect, and you listed a few other companies. You have the dates and the testing that they specifically did, and you have their summary of their findings. Do you have that information?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and is that something that we can share with the public and with parents and with staff?
That I don't see why not, but again, that's a conversation that would have to go through upper administration.
Not a problem. The reason why I'm saying that, and definitely within earshot of the rest of the administration, is because I don't want people to guess whether they think they're safe or not. If we can communicate that frequently, not just a one-time hit, but frequently updating them on all the news for their particular building, the staff will feel more secure and safe standing in a building, walking in a building. Parents will feel more comfortable dropping their kids off and feeling that they're going to be safe while they're in the building. But, we sometimes in this district have a habit of not communicating all the things that we are doing well with the general public, and it leads people to make a lot of assumptions. It makes people nervous. It makes them uncomfortable. So we can, I'm saying this to superintendent, gosh, I'm looking at you and I'm just like, what? It's late. But in reference to the superintendent, just making sure that we communicate that.
Dr. Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you. I'm like staring at her. Saying, what is her name? The filters, Mr. Sutton, you mentioned the filters. You said that the MERV 13 filters, because I was reading a lot on that. They said that you really should be trying to put the highest possible filters on the systems that you can. Now, you said that the older systems, they were advising to follow manufacturer's recommendations, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. So with that said, because you said it would potentially short circuit the system or might, cause a fire. So
But more importantly, not to cut you off, it will make the system more inefficient.
okay.
So if we put a MERV 13 in a system that has only been designed for a MERV 8 or MERV 10 filter,
okay,
you will get less quality of air.
Okay, I received that. So is there anything in terms of, because I went to, with board member Kyle, we went to Paz and we went to Barlow. And so those maintenance crews were nice enough to take off the filter so we could see it. But one of the questions, because I saw the date on the filter, would that mean that you would be changing the frequency of the filters more often than what you were previous to COVID-19?
Well, this is what I'm going to very proudly say. Before COVID-19, one of the things that we've done in the past 4 years has changed. I require all schools, the filters to be changed quarterly. Traditionally, it was not that. We now do it, not just because of COVID, but 3 years prior to that, 4 times a year, quarterly.
Okay, so now during COVID, because you're saying you were doing it 4 times a year, which was an improvement from previous, I'm just trying to just express some concern. Wouldn't you want to change the filters more frequently than just, quarterly in the buildings? Or are you basing that on the air quality test? Because, people are again just concerned about, catching everything that you can possibly the filter. So would it be reasonable to have an expectation that you would be able to change the filter more than just once a quarter?
Yes, but I think that what we're doing is more than enough. The recommendation says twice a year. We're doing it 4 times. So we're doing it every 3 months.
And I guess my concern is we have a lot of staff members that would be designated as high risk under the definition of COVID. So although it meets the standard according to what you're saying, which I'm not arguing with, but I'm saying for someone who has lupus, someone who has an autoimmune disease, someone, who, has, a litany of issues that would make them high risk. That's why I'm asking that question in terms of giving them that extra sense of protection or security, realizing that the district is going a little bit above and beyond what they would be required to do. So I'm just asking, is that something that is possible?
It's possible, but what I'm saying is what we're doing now should make everyone very comfortable, because there are very few school districts in the state of New Jersey, or hospitals for that matter, that are changing filters every 3 months.
Okay. All right.
So, Mr. Sutton, you saying our filter, just to piggyback that, our filter, I guess, life cycle or plan of action equals that which medical care facilities give?
Sure. In terms of maintenance of it and the changing of filters, actually, in your hospital settings, when they have their HVAC team come out, they're basically coming and checking. They're basically come out and do a check quarterly, and they may change the filter twice a year.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other board members?
That's after COVID. You're saying that's occurring.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, that's after COVID?
That's before COVID and as COVID is happening.
Okay.
Our standard has always been that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Campbell and then Ms. Powell.
Since I've spoken once and had a few questions, you.
All right, Ms. Powell.
If there's some time left, I'll ask Mr. Ottman a couple of questions.
Okay, Ms. Powell and Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, I don't want to overwork Annalyn. She hasn't stopped talking since she hasn't taken a drink of water. Let's not break her.
Second.
We may have to split her up.
Second.
You're okay? Because, these meetings could go pretty late and you're just going and going and going. You're talking the most out of all of us, but you're always quiet. That's all, Mr. Chair.
All right. Back to Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Ottman, do you, in your work orders, have you gotten many complaints lately about the condition of the filters and the staff and employees feeling they may not be safe?
Well, they go to buildings and grounds, but I haven't heard from that hasn't been on my radar as an area of big complaint. I think I'll just say, I think to Ms. Innocent Person's questions, I think that all the air quality testing that we've been done that supports that we don't have air quality issue really speaks to the job that, changing the filters quarterly and the other things that we've done of keeping our air healthy.
Okay. And
the other question I had is, how much did it cost us to clean the ducts the last time, and when was that done?
Well, it was $200,000 roughly, and that was done in July, August, and September.
Thank you.
That's a lot.
For the record and clarification, that was July, August, September of 2020, Mr. Ottman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good.
Ms. Anderson Person.
yeah, just a question. When you mentioned, Mr. Sutton, that texting system that you have where they can call if the bathrooms are not up to par and they need to be clean, does that translate for anything? If the teacher's in the classroom and they see that their vent, they look down and see if their vent is dirty or it has dust or what have you, does it work for that as well?
Well, yes, but we're phasing this in. So first I want to put the system in for the bathrooms. Okay. We already have a work order system in. So if they happen to see that, they talk to their custodian, fireman, custodian, or head custodian, they can put the work order in. This text system is what you see as you're moving along. So we're going to start with the bathrooms.
He froze.
Hey, it worked for a while.
Yeah, had a good run.
Can I ask, what was that phone number he gave again?
His number?
Yeah.
Campus alert.
There
So
you
it'll
go.
be a campus alert.
I'm sorry, what did you say again?
Campus alert.
Yeah. So it'll go from, bathroom, restroom alert to campus alert. So we're gonna do this in certain stages.
Now, do we know what do you have the timeline set up for this first phase with the bathroom from when to when or not yet?
I'm going to do what my plan is. The first 120 days, let's get this down pat. Let's get into a routine. And then the plan is to expand it.
Okay. And in reference to the district staff, in terms of keeping them up to date, I understand about the PSA and the commercial, really great idea. But in terms of the day-to-day, I'm a teacher, I'm a principal, I'm a VP, I'm getting out of my car, I'm walking into the building. How are you going to, what am I going to see be, is there going to be anything visual besides the normal 6-foot distance banner? Will any of this information be readily available in terms of something that's kind of like something that's constantly being updated, that's visual for the staff to see?
It won't be visual in the schools. It won't be visuals in the schools. One of the things that Buildings and Grounds has talked about, and we've talked about in Facilities and Grounds Committee, is doing maybe a quarterly or something to that effect of like a Facilities and Grounds newsletter that'll go out mass email to our staff.
Okay, what
Kind of
about,
like what's going on, what we're doing, any pertinent information that applies to health and safety topics, and what's going on in terms of planned projects and routine maintenance.
okay, so in reference to something more real time, is there anything that they could look up on their phones or anything if they just wanted to make themselves feel good and just be able to get the latest information on their phone without waiting for a quarterly newsletter?
Well, we can. Well, what we can definitely utilize is the update some information if the superintendent and Mr. Ottman is comfortable with it. Utilizing updating information by way of the district website under the Buildings and Grounds tab. We could put up information there.
Is that hard to get to? How many, like, are we going 15 deep to get the information on the website? Or is it?
No, you just go to the website, right under the business office. You click on Facilities and Grounds, and we can post information there. Actually, you get IPM information and your HERA notices on that website throughout the year as we do different projects or there's different times of reporting. So, I mean, we can add that tab. And that's not terribly difficult to get to.
Okay, and could there be some commitment in terms of how frequently the site is updated, whether it's, daily, every 2 days, just so people have a sense of like the information that they last looked at? And
I wouldn't say a day or two. I would think based off of the type of routine maintenance and things that we're doing, I just think it's totally reasonable to say quarterly. So every 3 months or so that you would be able to go get pertinent information, and another 3 months you get an update of whatever the topic may be or whatever servicing. I think that's more reasonable.
Okay, but let's say we go to the COVID outbreak. Let's say there's an outbreak in a building, all right? And you described how you're going to go in and clean. Would that not be some information that would be something that would get more immediate and not have to wait?
Okay. Well, what I'll say is this: I'm going to defer that to upper administration because upper administration already have a practice that's in place.
Mm-hmm.
If they choose to deviate from what we're doing, or want to add something else, then I have no problem with it. I think with the system that we have in place is great. But I also understand your side of it and your viewpoint of it, where you would like to have an area for employees as well as parents to generally see, like
because
routine maintenance and things of that nature.
You've given a lot of information, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that says I didn't know that. And as opposed to just having clustered with just a handful of people that have an understanding, this is something that should go, just district-wide, but citywide, so that we're all communicating how safe our schools are so that people, they can feel comfortable and, working, because if I don't feel comfortable as an employee and I have to do my job and I'm just having these concerns. So even if it seems over the top for some people, when we start talking about people's health, if we have to just do a little bit more to make people feel safe, I just think we should do it until we move ourselves out of it. Then it's more reasonable to expect that this would decrease. But until such time as it doesn't, I think that, there's nothing wrong with a little overkill if it makes people ultimately feel better about the buildings that we're walking into. So thank you.
Are there any other questions about the buildings and grounds operations coming from board members?
just have a comment, Mr. President.
Mr. Campbell.
I would like to take at this point, thank the superintendent, Mr. Ottman, Mr. Sutton, and all the staff, custodial staff that make this happen. So I think they're doing a yeoman's job and keep up the good work. While we criticize our employees and our administrators for the things they not doing, I think we should give them some credit for the things that they are doing.
All right.
I agree.
Any other comments or questions from board members?
Oh,
If-
not related to this, but I have another question before we end the evening.
Okay.
And Mr.
Any
Chair, also
questions?
too.
Any questions or comments regarding Mr. Sutton's presentation? There being none. All right, Ms. Anderson-Person, you have